Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Before starting my video, if you didn't subscribe my channel, please do, and do not forget to turn on notifications as I'm sharing great contents for you. Alright, previous lesson we completed a customer entity with the DTO, event, value object and the entity itself. Now let's carry on with the products quickly. Let's create the structure first, DTO. And do we have any events? Let me have a look. I guess we're not going to use any events for this section. I'm just going to create a DTO section. I don't remember that we need any value objects. Just keep simple for now. If we need it, we're going to add the folders. Okay, let's say product here, Ctrl RG. Let's make it public and sealed. Perfect. Now actually, you know what, I'm going to copy and paste what I did in my preparation to save some times, and we can manipulate it. Let's bring it here. Perfect. So we have base entity again. We have an empty constructor for EF core to able to make a migration. So we have a private product constructor, and I mentioned why we're using private in our previous lesson, to able to use just inside of this class. So we have a description using title value object, and we have unit price using money object. That's why I used in them our shared section. Perfect. So we have these two property, and it must be private set as well. Yep, I'm checking my errors by the way. So we set them null, not null, to get rid of warnings. So we have create product DTO. We need to create a new one, by the way, and we have an update method. By the way, we forget to update. Make it. Where is my customer? We forget to make an update method for the customer, right? Let's have a look quickly. It's just a really easy one. Yeah, let's make a public void update, and it's going to take customer update DTO. Update DTO. Where's the customer update DTO? Why is that? Sorry, is the update customer DTO. Update customer DTO. Yeah, this is the request, and the title. No, what is the? Yeah, the title is going to be the. Should I use a new title? Request title. Yep. The money is going to be new money comes from our request. Actually, you know what? Money is not going to be manipulated by here. So we're going to manipulate the address, just address for the update section. New address. All we need to do add is our parameters here. Yep, all done. So we update the title, we update the address. By the way, I'm going to use this method in the first time, so we will see if it's not working. We can switch this DTO to normal one, and we can continue with that. Okay, let's see everything if it's going to be all right. Okay, let's get back to our products again. So what we're gonna do is the product DTOs. Okay, let's create a class. Let's say product DTO. Ctrl RG. That's it. Make it public. I'm gonna change the name with the base product DTO, and let me bring. Okay, so we're going to have. Let me have a look. Product again. We have just title and money, right? So we're going to have prop string title and it's going to be not null. So we're going to have a decimal, which is going to be unit price, and we don't need to tag it because this is the decimal, this is the value object, cannot be null if you didn't specifically set as a null project. So we have a new description and unit price for the base product. Yeah, let's create it's going to be public class create product DTO and inherit from base product DTO. Then all we need to do is, do we need anything else part of this title and unit price? Let's have a look. Yeah, we need I guess not. So I guess I'm not gonna use anything else for the create, but for the update we're going to need an ID. So let's update product DTO prop with let's say product ID. Perfect. Let's close this DTO section now. Let's get back to here and add the namespaces. Perfect. All we need to do is, so the product is requiring an ID, so we're giving a new GUID, and the description is going to be, let's cut this section, new title. Oh, we gave the title, but the name is the description. Let's switch this to description. This is my fault. Perfect. Let's get back. Yep. And we need to add new money for the unit price. Yep, all done for the product section. It can be simplified. Yeah, we don't need to add, by the way, product because we're returning product anyway. Let's have a look. Customer again, did we use the same thing? We're returning new title. Should I actually title is title? Should I use? Yeah, we can simplify all of them. It seems all good, I guess. Yeah, but it doesn't sound good to me because I need to see what they are actually. Yeah, it's better for now. I think it's better. Yeah, let's go back now. But in this section we can use the simplify section because the only type we're returning is product and we're just returning the product itself. Okay, perfect. Let's continue with this section. I need to do, add this new title of the description, new money of the unit price. All done. So we have a create and we have update section. The product is completed. Let's close this product section and just build our application, see if there is any error or something. We did any build since we started. Okay, there is 0 failed. Perfect. Sounds very nice. Let's close the customer, close the products. The next one is going to be, should I do invoice items first? Let's create the invoice item first, then we can create the invoices because the invoice needs the invoice items. You cannot create any invoice without any invoice items, and you cannot create any invoice items without any invoice. They are strictly tightly coupled between each other. That's because we're going to build our logic in our rich domain models. Alright guys, let me have a look at my notes quickly for the invoice items. So we're going to have a new folder for DTO, and we're going to have a new folder for value objects, and now it's time to create our invoice item entity. our control RG, let's clean everything, and let's make it public sealed. Let's use base entity. Let's bring the base entity here. First, we're going to do is create. Actually, I'm gonna copy and paste again. You know what I'm doing right now. Actually, you learned everything what I did. Just copy and paste, and we can manage them. So we created an empty structure for the EF core. So we have internal. This time I'm not using private because the create method is going to be called by the invoice itself inside the invoice, not the invoice item. So it doesn't make any sense to create any invoice item without any invoice, because that's the nature of invoice and invoice items. So I'm gonna make it internal, and I'm gonna call that invoice item constructor inside of the invoice. All right, we need another, let me see, so we need another value object which is called quantity. Yep, so all we need to do is create a new value object. So quantity just basically keeps the integer of there is another property which is going to be integer, and it's just keeping the quantity of the product. That's just for quantity basically. Let's create a new class which is called quantity, and it is going to be record. Let's make it public. Let's make it record, and it is going to be integer value. Perfect. This is completed. Now let's add the namespace. So invoice item has an ID, is going to have the invoice item is going to have an sell price, quantity, and also an invoice ID. Yep, the sell price, and also it's going to have a total price as well, but total price is going to be calculated the sell price value multiplied by the quantity value. Yep, and invoice ID is going to be invoice ID is going to be given by the user. Okay, so we don't have invoice yet, but let's keep it here. Once we created our invoice, we're going to implement, we're going to add the namespace, and the old connection is completed. This is our relation section. Let's add this relation with the customer just before create our invoice. So as you can see, we have here section. Let's add public collection invoice, which is we didn't create yet. Invoice. Okay, let's say purchased item. Oh, let me have a look my notes, what I type as a name for. Yeah, it's going to be invoices. Yeah, my fault. Invoice is going to be invoices, right? Okay, invoices, and get private set. Perfect. All we need to do is adding the class of the invoice now. Perfect. Let's save everything, close all files, simplify the tree. Let's go back to domain, entities. Yep, invoices. Perfect. So invoices is actually, did I add DTO for the invoice items? Let me have a look. No, we didn't add yet. Okay, we're going to need it while we're creating our invoices, so I'm just leaving as it is for now. Yeah, I'm leaving as it is for now. When it comes to create our invoices with the invoice items, we're going to create our DTO as well. Okay, let's close the invoice item section. Let's add the structure for our invoices. Okay, so we need a DTO, we need events and value objects. Events, value objects. Perfect. Now let's continue with the invoice, guys. All we need to do is create a new item which is called invoice. Control RG. Let's make it public, sealed, and invoice base entity. Perfect. I'm going to copy and paste what I did while I was studying this project, and we can go through step by step on it. Okay, let's save everything. So we have, as usual, empty constructor for the EF core, but it must be private. Okay, I'm gonna check all of them. I'm just don't remember. All must be in private. It's a private. Invoice item private. The products. Oh, it's public. Yeah, just make it private, guys. Perfect. All right. So we have invoice. Yep. So to create an invoice, we have this parameter, PO number, the purchaser number, the customer ID, and the invoice item, and the total balance. Okay, so how it's going to be happen now? This is the relation between the customers. So one customer can have more than one invoices, but one invoice only can have just one customer. This is the representation of the connection between the invoice and the customer. This is the purchase products. One invoice can have many products, but one invoice item can have just one invoice. Let's go back to invoice item section now. We can add the namespace. It's all done. This section is completed. Let's get back to customer now. Let's add the namespace. This section is completed as well. Perfect. Let's save everything and close customer invoice item. Continue with the invoice. Okay. Let me have a look at the total balance. This is the total balance. How it's calculating. This is calculating while we're creating our invoices. So just passing through the parameter into the constructor. All we need to do is let's create this value object, the PO number. Let's add a new class, actually record, called PO number. Control RG. Let's make it public record, and it's just receiving the string value. Perfect. Let's delete those scopes and let's close it. PO number is created in the invoice value object sections. Let's add the namespace. Perfect. All done. Alright guys, now we're going to continue with the create method. So we need a create invoice DTO request, and I'm passing inside the unit of work. I'm explaining step by step why we are passing through inside unit of work, and it's going to be a asynchronic method. So I'm tagged with the ASYNC with the task, and I wrap the invoice with the task then. So first of all, if the request purchase products just comes from create invoice DTO cannot be null or cannot be 0, it means you cannot create an invoice without any object, without any item. So we just returning this exception with this message. First of all, let's create invoice DTO. Let me have a look my notes. Okay, let's create a invoice DTO. Control RG public, and let's change the name with the base invoice DTO. Perfect. By the way, I'm going to tag these base classes with the abstract. So not able to create it using new keyword abstract. Okay, let's go all base classes and use the abstract. Let's copy all of them. Is there anyone customer? Yeah, use the abstract. Perfect. It's all done. Let's continue with the base invoice DTO. So we need to pass through inside the PO number. let's make it not null, and we need to create invoice DTO. I'm just gonna copy and paste to make things a little bit faster. So we have a create invoice DTO inheriting from base invoice DTO. We need a customer ID because we need to assign the invoice to a customer, and we need to create invoice item DTO. Right now we need the items to be added in the invoices. Now it is the time to add our invoice item DTO, and update invoice DTO just requires the propagate the invoice ID, because we just able to give an ability to edit their invoices PO number just for now. This is going to be enough for edit an invoice. Let's create our invoice item DTO now. Let's get back where's our, okay, let's minimize everything. Oops, close you. Go to entities, invoice items, DTO. Okay, add new class. The name is invoice item DTO. Invoice item DTO. Then the main important thing is for the invoice item DTO, we don't allow user to update it. We only have the create invoice item DTO. So I'm going to change the name create invoice item directly, because there is no sense to make a base item if you don't use for anywhere else. Let's make it public class, and all we need to do is for the section, guys, let me have a quick look. Yeah, we need a product ID and the quantity. We need a product ID and quantity for create invoice item. So when it comes to ask an input from a user, they're going to give us a product ID and quantity. Product ID, quantity, product ID, quantity. For example, this is going to be cement 5 pieces, glue 2 pieces, wood 10 pieces, something like that. So in that list we're going to use these IDs and quantities to create our invoices. Okay, let's get back to our create invoice. Let's add our namespaces. So we have everything to create an invoice right now. So we're going to give a customer ID, and we're going to collection of the items the customer would like to purchase, and we're able to create the invoice now. Let's save everything, and let's add the namespace. So we have now create invoice DTO request and the unit of work. So why we add this unit of work? Because we're going to make database request to find the product, get the price, using the product ID, which is given here, create invoice item DTO, using the in for each loop. Okay, let's continue. If the purchase product is null, comes from create invoice DTO. If this purchase product is null or the count is 0, so we're going to throw an exception, the empty invoice cannot be created. Now I'm going to create a new invoice ID using GUID new GUID, because I'm going to use this invoice ID to create my invoice items in for each loop. And there is an empty collection for purchase products, and now it's time to use a for each loop to iterate all purchase products comes from create invoice DTO and purchase products. Yeah, so these purchase products have a product ID and quantity. Let's get back to invoice. Now I'm going to create a database request using unit of work .repository. This is the method we created here, guys, in our abstraction unit of work. This is the method, and we're giving the entity, and we're able to reach the repository with the given entity to this repository, it's creating an iGeneric repository, and iGeneric repository we have all commands, all methods to make a manipulation to the database. This is how we're using. First we're using unit of work using this repository, then we give the entity and it allows us to reach the generic repository to use those methods. Okay, let's get back to invoice now. So I use the unit of work, use the repository methods. I gave the product because I need to find the product with the given ID, and I try to find this with using a product ID. So if there is null result, so it means the ID for the product which is wrong ID, so we just throw an exception, not found exception. Then we are creating our invoice item using the new invoice item. This time we using just a constructor. I didn't create a factory method for invoice item because we're just going to use just one method for create invoice item. That's why I'm using the new keyword, and it is asking us a GUID. Let's have a look at our invoice item. Yeah, as you can see, we just create an internal invoice item to able to use this constructor in somewhere else in just the domain assembly. So it is asking us this parameter. Now we're going to fill these parameters using this constructor, the new GUID, and it is asking us the unit price and quantity and the invoice ID. This is the trick, guys. The invoice ID has been created just above those codes, and we are giving as a parameter of this invoice ID. Once it's completed, we add this invoice item to purchase products, and we are iterating all the IDs and creating invoice item for the all product IDs, and we're adding those all invoice items in our collection. Then all we need to do is calculating the total balance, which is going to be purchased products, and I'm using the LinQ method, which is in our roadmap. I strongly recommend to study LinQ methods, which is making a summary of the all total price of the all purchased products. It's just basically iterating all the purchased products and taking the total price and make a summary all the values. So we have a decimal type of total balance in our hands now. Perfect. So it's time to create our invoice now. We have an invoice ID already created here, just passing the parameter through, and we need to give the PO number. So why we have problem here? Let me have a look. This is asking a string, so we need to switch this to new title. Oh, sorry, not title. It's going to be PO number. PO numbers, because this is a value object now. Perfect. So we giving the customer ID. This is the third parameter. The last one is sorry about that. The fourth one is going to be the purchase product. The last one is the total balance. Okay, so once everything is created, the invoice is created, all I need to do is erase domain event to invoice created domain event, and it is going to make an auto update in the customer balance section. So to do that, we're going to use this domain event. Alright, let's create where is my invoice section? Let's create an event. Let's copy the name first. Add new class, invoice created domain event. Yep, invoice created domain, control RG. Let's make it public and record. Let's give a GUID ID. Or should I'm just to make my whole project to be consistent, I would like to see what kind of parameter naming structure. Is it ID or customer? Yeah, we used customer. Let's make it plural as well. Okay, and capital. Let's fix this capital. Yeah, it's okay. Perfect, it's working. And the naming is going to be invoice ID. Perfect. All right. Let's add the namespace. Yeah, we forgot again to add our domain event. Perfect. Now it's all good. Perfect. This is the update invoice DTO. The old requirement is just one PO number. All we need to do is add new PO number section. All done. So we have everything in our hands now. For domain section, we created all entities, DTOs, values, events, everything, abstraction all completed. Maybe in the future we can add our exceptions here, but not now. I don't know what kind of exception we might need in the future. Let's see how it's gonna work, this project. Okay, I'm gonna finish this lesson here now, and next lesson we're going to start building our application layer, and we can continue where we left, guys. Alright guys, I will be really appreciated if you drop any comment below the video, and if you crush the like button, I will be really happy, as the YouTube algorithm bring my videos more frequently to upper levels if you put a lot of comments and use the like button. Take care of yourself. See you on the next lesson. Bye bye.